Hello, another vlog. I thought I'd do one. Maybe I'm going to do more vlogs, I don't know. I never know, actually, exactly what I'm going to be up to, so life is full of variety, isn't it? So anyway, another vlog. This week a little bit about futurology, or what's going to be happening maybe, and a bit about how to live that I'm not doing very well, but let's get on with it, shall we? A little bit of futurology. I was reading about automation, and I've spoken about it before, about how it looks like over the next 10 to 20 years, machines, computer-controlled machines effectively, are going to be taking over probably a significant number of jobs. Driving jobs, help desk jobs like I do, shop jobs of various sorts. And I was interested to read a study that indicated that bigger cities would be more immune to this than smaller ones. The threshold seems to be around about 100,000 population. Above that level, there are more specialist jobs available. In the small towns, on the other hand, there are fewer specialist jobs, and the lack of specialist jobs, the non-specialist jobs, are the ones which are basically easiest to automate. Ooh, police siren, can you hear that? Anyway, it's always quiet in London, isn't it? Even on a day like today, which is going to rain. I was thinking of going out and making a video about Hampstead Heath and wandering around there, but the weather's going to be chronic today, so I can't do that. It's very windy as well. But, yes, so my job, for example, help desk, in truth, the computers really ought to be able to fix most of the things that I fix. So this program's crashed, we'll turn it off and turn it on again, you know? I mean, is that tough? You know, this add-in in Outlook is broken. Oh well, switch it on again, you know, turn it, re-enable it. It's like, this is the sort of thing that a computer really ought to be able to do, and it can log it that this add-in keeps crashing, and the programmers, or the robot programmers, can work on it and try and figure out what's wrong with the code and get it to work properly, permanently. While we do, at the moment, we just do the firefighting on the help desk, and this or that thing crashes or is not working. We have to find out which bit needs turning on again, essentially. So I can see my job going in a few years. Luckily, I'm due to retire in a few years. Unluckily, I'll probably have to keep working if I need to keep paying rent. Bit of a problem there. I probably have enough saved to buy some really, really cheap and chronic accommodation in southern Europe somewhere. I mean, like a barn or something. Not a great standard of living, but nice climate. That's my emergency fund gone entirely, though. I would have nothing after buying that. I would quite enjoy Airbnb-ing out rooms in it or something, but I'd have to spend on doing it up, and I wouldn't have any money, so I don't know. That's the plan at the moment. Big holes in it. I don't know quite how to get around that. I mean, I save what I can, add it to my emergency fund, basically. Use some to pay off a debt every now and then. If 15% of what I've got in my emergency fund is enough to cover a debt, then I'll pay off that debt. That's how I do it. But I figure that's getting rid of more than 15% puts me at financial risk, because crises happen all the time, right? So I've found, kind of by experience, that I can afford to get rid of about 15% of my money on something stupid like getting rid of a debt. But the rest I really need to hang on to it because stuff happens, you know. And with jobs going, including maybe mine in a few years' time, or maybe sooner, who knows, what is one to do? the helicopter money from the government is not here yet. I mean, I'll get a pension, I suppose. I checked online, and to my surprise, I was actually entitled to one. I guess I'll get one. It's enough to live on, except accommodation. You're kind of expected to have bought a house and owned it by now, which is impossible. I mean, there's nowhere. You can't get a 2-bedroom flat in London for under £600,000 now. That's not going to happen. And outside London, it's cheaper, but not that much cheaper. I can go to some desolate part of Scotland or somewhere and enjoy the rain every day, I suppose. But even that's not cheap. Instead, I'm looking at southern Europe, Spain, France, Italy, former Yugoslavia, Romania. These places are nice climate-wise, nice environment, and a lot cheaper than London. In fact, most of the world is a lot cheaper than London, let's face it. You can actually buy decent places throughout the United States, even though that's a wealthy country. It's a low-price economy, which is amazing, compared with Britain. So when jobs go, people are going to think, well, the universal basic income is going to be given to people. Somehow they're going to have to do it, or we'll riot and lynch them. Okay. But people have an ambivalent attitude to being given money, helicopter money as it's called, because we have this sort of ethic that we're supposed to work for it. But actually, I would say that's wrong. The purpose of the economic system is to supply our wants. In particular, our needs: food, shelter, clothing, self-actualization ultimately, company, this sort of thing. It's not to, and indeed it is to relieve us of drudgery, which it's failing to do with our jobs, right, for the most part. So however it works, if we're to be given money to make it work, that's fine. Money is not a real thing. It's an abstraction. It's an accounting, it's a measure of the flow of energy within our system of doing things. It's a way of indicating what needs to be done next, basically. And that's all. There's actually no moral issue with giving people money so that the system flows. It's the flow and the people doing things that makes it all work, or machines doing things ultimately. Of course, another purpose for the economic system, apart from relieving us of some drudgery, in theory, and supplying our wants, is to keep us under control. We're at work all day, we're busy, we're tired when we get home, we've no time for politics and interfering with how things are run. That's going to be difficult to get around. Luckily, we do have the mass media, and luckily most people are thoroughly brainwashed by it and just believe what politicians and pundits tell them. It's amazing. So bread and circuses continues. Automation is going to cause some hiatus in this system. Various countries and towns are experimenting with helicopter money, and the pension system can be thought of as a sort of mini experiment in it. And it doesn't cause old people to go out on the streets and riot and demand change, actually, but maybe they're disinclined to do so anyway as a class because of infirmity in general. As you get older, you become a bit more content and placid anyway, perhaps. if you've matured in your life anyway, had a goodish life. But it's interesting to think what may be coming up over the next few years. Just checking my microphone. These batteries are going down very quickly, you know. They used to last for hours. But I've started using rechargeable batteries, and they're rubbish compared with full normal batteries, actually. I mean, yes, they recharge, but they die so quickly. Strange. Actually, another thing that wore out this week, I had to get a micro SD card for my mobile phone, because the old 2GB one is full up with photos. And rather than delete them or something, I've backed them up, obviously, onto a computer, but and that backs them up to the cloud. But 2GB isn't enough when you've got a 10 meg camera on the phone, really. So I've upped it a bit to 16 megs. That'll last me a few more years. 16 gigs, sorry, not megs. I mean, the phone could take up to 128GB micro SD card, but I'm not going to pay £100 odd for that, you know. 16GB will last me until some other time. Several years, probably. And I like to take photos, and I quite enjoy making videos, like with YouTube. But it made me think that in life there's a zillion things that you can be interested in and can do. And when I was younger, I would focus on lots and lots of things, or try to do lots and lots of different things, because everything was interesting. And in a way it still is. But one only has the time and energy for a small number of things. In my case, maybe really only one. So I'm making that YouTube, basically, and playing computer games, which is also YouTube. I've managed to integrate the two there. But if you're a person who is interested in lots of things but is failing to focus, bear in mind that if you don't focus, you won't get your 10,000 hours on something. You'll never become a master of it. Probably, I mean, a way to decide what to do then, how to focus, one way is to write a list of all the things you're interested in and would like to be spending time on, and then make a fresh list, or isolate the top 5, say, or even the top 2 or 3 or 1, depending on your energy levels and the time available for you, and actually do not do the rest. They go off your list until you've finished, say, number 1 on your list. You don't introduce the next one at all. If you don't focus, you can't finish. I think. If you've got a better way of dealing with it, let me know, because I'm interested. I mean, I have lots of interests, but no time, you know. Or I get an hour a day after work, maybe, and that's it. And a bit at the weekends. But again, not much. Like next weekend, I'm going to be visiting relatives, so the whole weekend I'm not going to be doing any YouTube. I'll put a video up. I've got one spare, which will go up. And then I'm going to have to, in August, I'm going to have to catch up and make a few extra videos, so I've got a couple of spare ones again. So it's complicated, you know. I'm trying to do like one serious video a week, plus some gameplay, at least. I don't do the gameplay every week now anymore. I'm doing them most weeks, but I often have a gap between games, because I have to allow time for life, right? Because that's the way life is. My genius will lead me towards whatever it is I'm supposed to be doing, I suppose. I guess that's YouTube. I'm focusing on it. Am I a genius at YouTube? Let me know. I've got, 860 odd subscribers. So it's drifting upwards slowly, but I don't know that constitutes genius somehow. Maybe not. Maybe in the long run I'll be getting more than something like a tenner a month out of it. Who knows? I really would like to be making 500 a month. I think that would be okay. I could actually contemplate making a move at that level, because trying to figure out how to live, what to spend your life on, is a tough thing, because as you get into life you forget the things you've set aside, or in focusing on work and things like that, there's a strong tendency to forget what it's all for. And just to get into the rat race, and I've made a few videos about escaping the rat race. I'm still in it, I haven't escaped. I'm earning a job. I'll consider I've escaped the rat race when I have no job and enough money. Right, I have enough money but no job. Then I can choose, then I can do what I want. I'm doing what I want in my spare time, and I want to expand that, obviously. So, how do you decide what to do with your life? Well, one very powerful question is, if money were no object, what would you like to do? And aim your life at that answer. So I'm thinking I would like to live maybe somewhere in southern Europe, in some pleasant enough place, Airbnb some rooms out to keep it interesting and keep some contact with people, and make some money on the side, and make YouTube videos and travel around and stuff like that. Idle things in a way, but I think my YouTube channel provides value for people, and that's part of the point in a way. It's something I can do, and I think I'm aiming in more or less the right direction. It's hard to know exactly, but what I would, I suppose, possibly do is, if the channel were making a lot more money, I could then invest in making serious documentaries as well as my normal videos. Get a crew in and do it that way, you know. There's a long way to go before I can do that, but that might be of some interest. So some of these topics I could actually do some investigation, even seriously, and do it. Don't know. But if money were no object, what would you do, or what would you like to do? Would you be doing your current job? If not, that's probably not what you should be aiming at. It's a means to an end, perhaps. If you're doing your job and you're not saving any money, that's a disaster. Okay, you have to have a surplus. Cut your expenditure or increase your earnings. That tiny surplus, however small it is, that is your future. That is your freedom. That is what's going to help you get to where you want to go. So that is the crucial thing you should be doing if you're in a job that is not the job you want. You must be making a surplus, I think. However small, even if it's a few pounds, set it aside. It does add up over time. I've got a small surplus, and it's giving me some flexibility. Before my divorce, we had a lot more flexibility, but our savings were split between us. So now it's sort of back to a sort of emergency level only. But given that I'll get a pension in a few years, that's like a little bit of helicopter money for me. Trouble is, I'd really like to do it sooner, when I'm still sort of relatively fit, and if you, I mean, you don't know what's going to happen to health, and it could all just, you know, go up the Swanee, as it were. So the sooner the better, basically. Build up your surplus as rapidly as you can, invest it, diversify, get recycled income out of it, income which you further invest, and so on, until you've built up capital. Property seems to be the thing, because once you've got somewhere to live without a mortgage, so you actually own it, then you've got some tremendous flexibility, because your actual personal living expenses can be quite low. You can live on, in this country, £500 a month, just about, maybe less, if you're not paying for accommodation. I have no property which I own. I suppose ultimately I'll inherit my parents' property, but that could be decades away. In the meantime, I might just get somewhere cheap in southern Europe as soon as I can, which is not going to be any time really soon, but a few years. See how it goes. I don't know. What else has been happening? There's been some stories in the newspapers about the NHS hack, which was a while ago. The National Health Service had its computers hacked. Turns out they were running Windows XP, so duh. And of course a lot of hacks happen because people's passwords are stupid. Password 1, let me in. Tiddle's the name of their cat or something, or their birthday or something of this sort. And they're short, you know, less than 8 characters. People, a non-hackable password or a difficult to hack password has to be at least 18 characters long now. String a couple of words together and stick some numbers and symbols in there, preferably not at the end, but somewhere else. Stick some capital letters in it, again, preferably not at the beginning. Make it difficult for them. It's not so tough, and you can remember them. It's not hard. You know, make them funny. Ha ha 1 2 3. No, not like that. Okay. But oh, and also, just in case you might have to tell your boss what your password is at some point, be careful what you choose, right? But it could be something like thermometer badger. Put a plus sign in the middle, stick a capital R on the end of badger or something. I don't know. Just and stick a number in there. Make the O a 0 in thermometer. You know, just up your game a little bit. And you'll make it really hard for the hackers, because they will capture the 90% or 95% of passwords which are easy. When they make a hack, they spend some time breaking the passwords, obviously. Most of the passwords can be broken within seconds. It's worth their while to run their cracking programs for a few days to try and break most of the passwords. But the really, really tough ones, it's not worth their while wasting the time trying to crack them. And the really, really tough ones are long, essentially, and with some symbols, some numbers, some caps. Okay. And you can make them easy to remember. It's not that hard, really. Just spend a few minutes thinking about it. If you don't, you deserve to be hacked. The French President Macron was hacked, of course, during the campaign. His campaign was hacked, but they were expecting it. And what was funny was they filled up their hard drives with loads and loads of fake emails and junk and garbage. So it was all mixed in with the real stuff, and the hackers had to waste loads of time trying to figure out what was real and what was not. And that kind of blocked them somewhat. They released it a couple of days before the election, but it wasn't really in time to have much of an effect, and they hadn't been able to trawl through it properly and figure out what was real and what wasn't. That was a sneaky technique, very funny, and very good in this post-truth world. And when the hackers did release some information, the Macron team said, well, the hackers have probably just put some fake emails in there to annoy us, you know. So they were double faking the hackers, which was very funny. Whether it was real stuff the hackers released or not, the Macron team just claimed it was fake as well. So great, good stuff. Politicians and people like that are going to have to try and figure out how to outsmart the hackers. And it was clever to assume that you would get in because people are too thick to spend 5 minutes thinking up a proper password, it seems. So, other than that, I've been thinking, how can I ignore my thoughts? sort of contradiction in a sentence there, isn't it? I've been thinking how to ignore my thoughts. The thing is, with meditation, which I think we probably should all do because it gives us more control over our minds, the verbal mind. The early technique is to silence and quieten your mind so that you can just be. But the advanced technique is to let your mind babble away, but pay no attention to it. You pay no more attention to it than you might the sound of the traffic outside or the birds twittering in the trees. You might listen for a moment and think, oh, isn't that nice? And then you're not listening anymore within a few seconds. You know, it's kind of like that. The idea of the advanced technique is to just let the mind babble, but you're not paying attention. You are elsewhere. Nirvana, right? So I've been pondering about that, but I haven't got there. Same with exercise. I walk a bit. I've got a stepper here which my ex-wife left behind, and I use that a little bit. I actually have a treadmill which I look at warily from time to time, but I haven't got back onto using that, except as a clothes horse. How to live, yeah. So if money were no object to question, what would I do? I think I've got the idea there, but I'm not doing it yet. And the other one is to try to get to the advanced meditation so that I can think without paying attention to it. Just let it be as well, which is interesting. But then, of course, I'm identified with the watcher, or the other side, so that's also another level to transcend. Puzzling stuff, but even just quietening your mind down is actually really, really powerful, because you learn to live in the now a lot more, and living in the now, right now, is great because you don't normally have problems or difficulties right now. They may be 5 minutes away, they may be in the past, but right now, like a little puppy or something, you can just be happy. Life is great. And that's probably how it should be. Make plans and so on when it's appropriate. The rest of the time there's no value in fretting about the past or the future. So you can ask yourself this: if money were no object question, what would I do? What would I like to do? But having thought about it, make your plans and then relax, and just your body knows how to follow these ideas without you having to narrate it to yourself all the time, I think. So comments below, please. Let me know what you think, and if you like this sort of stuff, subscribe to my channel please, and hit the like button anyway, whatever. Hit the dislike button if you hate this video, but if you've got this far and you dislike it, I admire your tenacity. Okay, so bye for now.